Hey everyone, how's it going? Today I wanted to do a walkthrough of some of my gameplay to teach how I do evoker healing. I've gotten a lot of really nice compliments on my play in dungeons, and I heard some people saying that I should try to do a walkthrough, so I'm going to walk you through a dungeon that I just did. I actually originally thought this wasn't going to be the best dungeon because as fun as Ruby Lifepools is, and as short as it is, it started off a little on the chill side. I think this group was new, wanted to take it pull by pull, but the boss fights took a little longer than normal, and there were some emergencies that happened that I feel like actually make it a good run to analyze. So let's jump right into it. I do have a bit of a change on my talents though for you all. So my last video I'm running Stasis, and I still really like Stasis. It's such a fun ability, but I wanted to cash into Life Force Mender. Living Flame and Fire Breath dealing additional damage and healing equal to 2% of your maximum health is actually a noteworthy amount of damage. Furthermore, I'm like 99% sure that casting Fire Breath in flow state are getting along lovely, and that's actually increasing the ticks on my dots. And if that's true, and I need to find like a surefire way to test that, but if that's true, then you're getting a lot of damage and healing out of Life Giver's Flame with Life Force Mender. But I wanted to try Dream Flight a little bit. I'm gonna be real with you, I just like blasting people with the breath. I think it's fun, but I wanted to know how it was as an emergency button. I'm going to say it's probably not as good as Stasis when used correctly, but it's helped me out tons of times already, especially last night when I was testing it. So I highly recommend it. I think it works pretty well. But let's get into the footage. I'll walk you through it. It does start slow, so if you're new to Evoker, the beginning will show you a bit of a slower pull and kind of what happens when things aren't crazy. And then as the dungeon goes on, you'll see a bit more crazy going on. And yeah, and that'll look maybe a little more like what M+ should look like, or might look like when things go wrong. So again, this started off sort of easy. So in this situation, I Fire Breath level 1, because again, I want to get the most amount of damage out of those hots. And if Fire Breath really does snapshot with flow state, then that means the longer tick is going to be ultimately more damage. So that's what I'm currently theory crafting. Again, I need to like sit down and lab that, but I use hover so that I can move and cast in case something bad happens. Disintegrate so you get your essence on cooldown. You just spam Living Flame. It's not, the single target rotation's really chill when you actually get to use it. A lot of times you're hovering and healing between it, and that's when I get lost in the sauce. So we do another 2-pack. I really was hoping we would do more, but again, I think this is good for showing it off. So you use Azure Strike to hit 2 to 3 targets, or even the larger packs when you have nothing else to do. And then, you know, you just pop Disintegrate on the higher health target and try to help them bring down. Pretty easy stuff when it comes to that. Remember that you're using Azure Strike when there's 2 or more targets, unless you need to prioritize healing. If healing is more important, then you single target down in a cleave situation, because you can get those free pop procs for healing. It really depends on what's happening. But if you're looking for damage, Azure Strike, nice and easy. You can move while casting it too. And actually, if you ever have to move, just start pressing Azure Strike instead. It's not like it's not damage. A little Flame Breath on them all. Did I do a level 1 charge or do I do more? Let's find out. Okay, so I do level 1 charge here. That's not a bad idea if the pack's gonna live long enough. I wasn't sure as the party's damage, like, would we take them out that quickly? I probably should have gone to level 2 or 3 here. That's gonna be less of an issue on Fortify weeks and higher key levels, of course. But I just wanted to have the habit of level 1 charging, but my damage is still pretty good for 3 mobs, and you're just mashing, and then I have to retarget and Disintegrate. Here we go. Next pack comes in. This stuff is very much my bread and butter. I throw a Temporal Anomaly thinking that damage might be coming through soon, and if it's not coming through soon, that shield will just help the tank mitigate a little bit. It's not the end of the world. I probably should have kicked that ice shield, but I was too focused on wanting to land my deep breath. I wanted it on cooldown. I hadn't used it yet. In bigger pulls, I would have used it on the first big pull, so if we just do the big Titan golem looking dude first, I would hold it. If we bring that into a giant pack, I use it on the first pull. And this is what told me, like, I think this group was brand new to Mythic, and I find out, I confirm it later, because there's some dragons that don't appear normally, and they weren't prepared for it. 3 target cleave, hit Azure Strike, enough said. Move us forward a little bit to the next pull. I was gonna say, I think this is all pretty easy territory, right? I'm throwing out the occasional temporal anomaly or blanket healing with dream breath or spot healing with reversions. If someone takes damage, you know, you tap reversion on them, you bring their health bar back up. But all these classes have some self-healing, right? So if they take small amounts of damage, I might not worry about it. Now the tank's starting to get a little more blasted, so I start worrying a little bit more about getting stuff started. So I throw a temporal anomaly out, knowing that some of the damage has stopped. Living Flame that person to full. Probably should have dispelled first, but they weren't gonna die. They'll be fine. That'd be a problem maybe if it ticked a lot harder, but it's not too terrifying. I didn't want to grab any extra whelps or butt pull because I wasn't sure how comfortable the tank was, so. This is a situation where I had to cast hover while standing, so I had to stop, press hover, and then get moving. It's kind of sucks when you're in this situation, but I don't want to get blasted by the positionals, but I want to start getting my casts off because I need to get some of this damage out and some of the healing out. So sometimes you just got to stop, press hover, and then keep going so you can cast while moving. Just be patient with that timing. This isn't a fighting game. You don't have to panic on that timing. You won't get a while rising Tekken attack, I promise you. Just, you don't want to accidentally dash into a wall or dash into a mob or get dashed into by a giant dragon guy. Or maybe you do want that. And one of the nicest parts about the build I run is that Flame Breath does heal. So a lot of the times, if the tank's starting to take damage, but they're not like falling over, it lets me sort of just set everyone on fire and the tank will get some healing back. And if they need more help, I can throw a reversion. And if they need a lot of help, I have time dilation and a bunch of other buttons to help them with. But generally speaking, you might see that first burst of damage and be like, oh no, and they probably pop the defensive and they might be self-healing, but that Fire Breath lets you get that AoE, get that damage rolling so you can focus on either more damage or more healing. Is I throw a Living Flame because we were given a pull timer. That's very kind of them to use a pull timer. I don't see those usually until higher levels, and even then not often. But if you do get the luxury, yeah, cast a Living Flame in there. And then, you know, pop Disintegrate, get that essence on cooldown. And then when I move, I Azure Strike. When I can stand still, I Living Flame. And there's not a lot of damage coming through, and a lot of my healing is being taken care of by the Flame Breath. I put a blanket heal on everyone, knowing we're about to take some AoE damage. And we actually took a lot here, but the damage then stops for a moment. So I have enough time to throw a Temporal Anomaly and get things going. Now here come the whelps, and I'm unfortunately in a position where I'm going to run into the spikes. So I had to move first, but it's a big Living Flame. I pop a Disintegrate, realize that we're a little low, charge Flame Breath to level 2, and Fire Breath on, sorry if I call it Flame Breath and Fire Breath. I don't know what game I'm thinking of. Level 2, there's just going to give me a little more initial impact because these mobs are going to die kind of fast, but also that's going to provide a little more upfront healing for whoever needs it. So it's not the worst thing in the world. Azure Strike the boss down. We're taking a decent amount of damage, but it's nothing that a blanket heal can't fix. So you Dream Breath and you keep going. I just noticed that the tank stacks are like really high. So in a moment I dispel that, but I didn't recognize just how much damage they were taking. But they're also a prot warrior and nothing's really happening to them right now. So I guess it's not the end of the world. Wow, it took me a while to dispel that ice. I'm ashamed of myself. I react mostly to health bars going down. The new default UI, I really like it, but maybe it's not the best for noticing cooldowns like that. Dream Breath just to get over there and start some healing, kind of ease the load, let my other cooldowns come back. It's a 2-minute, but I haven't needed an emergency heal yet, so it's not the end of the world. Level 3 Dream Breath to get more initial healing. That lets us get back up. And then back to single target. All good stuff. It's not a very hard rotation, thankfully. The hard part is planning what kind of heals you need to do to keep everyone alive. So do you have time to throw out a temporal anomaly? Should you tip the scales in Spirit Bloom? Right? Like, what should you use here? And I actually do a tip the scale Spirit Bloom here because everyone's taking quite a bit of damage. Now, I don't think we're about to die. And I maybe should have checked the boss's health bar that'd be going down so soon, but I don't mind using tip the scales before I use my other 2 big cooldowns. Rewind and Emerald Communion are amazing moves, but 3 minutes and 4 minutes per charge is a lot a lot of cooldowns. So I don't want to spend those unless I absolutely have to, because that's when you end in disaster territory. So we hold them. And plus, there are sometimes when a dungeon's really hard or your gear score isn't good, you need those to survive certain pulls. So, all right, here's where the pulls get mildly more spicy. Please excuse my chair. Set everyone on fire, and then I mash an Azure Strike. I throw some Blossoms. So thankfully this is a melee group, and that just means if I need to heal the front a bunch, I can just throw an Emerald Blossom. Now, I'm not built for Emerald Blossom, so I don't tend to throw it enough, but it is a very nice heal, and especially with a Temporal Anomaly on everyone, once you get that Echo spread, that flower will do a lot of work for you. It's great with a free cast. If you want free cast healing, it's sort of Echo for single target setup and Emerald Blossom for AoE. And that's typically how I use my free heals. But again, I'm trying to use Fire Breath level 1 more. Don't be ashamed if you want to make it a higher level to do more upfront damage. You do get more value out of the longer one, but also if, say, you want all your damage early and while you have a moment to charge before the going gets rough, yeah, you can charge it up. Also, it makes your Living Flame jump. Right, if you can get it all the way to level 4 charge, that means 5 targets get hit by Living Flame. That's a huge cleave heal. So this is what the tank didn't know, that there were dragons that just spawn. So this gets a little crazy and our DH just explodes. They end up apologizing later. They didn't realize that the dragons are spawning in on Mythic. Yeah, that is a new mechanic here. So everyone got really hurt there. So I Flame Breath, and I knew that breath was ending, so I didn't have to pop anything big. Dream Breath level 2, and everyone's going to be good. I'm going to pop up here, which is fine. I Echo myself. I think I Verdant myself. What did I cast there? Reversion. I cast Reversion myself. That's also not a bad idea. But now we're starting to take some serious damage. I get a little worried. I drop a Blossom in melee to help everyone out. Temporal Anomaly. Sort of the wrong order for that, but I wasn't prepared for us to take that much damage. Now I got to, like, get out. I Verdant to somebody to keep myself and them alive. Big blanket heal. That's going to keep me up. I don't have any of my own personal defensives left, so I'm a little more willing to use something like, say, an emergency heal. And I have the time to charge up a Spirit Boom because that dragon died. If that dragon was still up, I'd be a little worried the tank might explode. And I was sort of betting on them having a spender. They did have enough rage that I assume that they could... It's not shield block. I can't remember the move. They're rage spender for defensives, but I assumed they might be okay. They've done a good job of mitigating their low health so far in this dungeon. So this is the pull where we wipe. Things get a little out of hand here as I try to keep everyone up. Dream Breath to get it going. Reversion of myself. I'm just taking so much damage. So Ammo Commune, and which is goofy because I get to walk around with it. I'm not sure what knocked me out of my sleep there. Oh, you know, maybe it's not this pull. Maybe this is the next one where we go down. But that Emerald Commune allowed me to stay up and to help everyone else stay up. But this is getting a little risky, so I'm going to try to put as much as I can in melee, but it's not enough. I hit Rewind. That's probably the best use of Rewind I had. Holding there would have been really hard. I could have maybe Dream Breath, but health bars were just ticking so low. I wanted that Rewind to start ticking, which I believe it will tick a little bit faster than going for a Dream Breath, but Dream Breath will heal more immediately. Dream Flight, excuse me. It's just sort of a rough decision there, but I still have cooldowns. I have a Rewind left, so, and we're not at the boss yet, so I should get something back, probably my Dream Flight. And then I'm just getting murdered here. And this is when we realize, oh, there's a Proto Dragon. Goodbye, world. We wipe this one up and let them know it's happening. But we decided to do the boss without finishing that pack because we don't actually have to. So I think we killed the important mob that allows us to fight Blazehoof. So that actually leads us into a really dangerous situation coming up here. I finished this Disintegrate and then I swap targets. You kind of want to swap targets immediately. But this group knew to go to the Firestorm, thankfully. And most of the groups I've played with have. Last night I encountered my first one where I was the only one DPSing the Firestorm, and I was like, oh god, oh no. I throw a Temporal Anomaly hoping it gets to the pack, but we kind of move over here, which isn't good because then we start moving over here, and that's where that Proto Drake is. And yeah, this gets a little spicy, and I have to move. We have to go the other way. Our tank jumps, which is great, so Boss starts running boulders on me, so thankfully that's going to hit absolutely no one. But then our poor rogue, so they just book it. I grab them because I'm not sure if they're going to make it. They might have popped one of their defensives there. They might have been fine. And then I Emerald Commune to kind of get our health bars up, and it works perfectly. Get that damage rolling. That'll be some health for everyone. Get the temporal anomaly going. I need my front line to survive because I'm not sure if the stragglers will be able to make it in, but they do make it in. So I'm able to heal them right up. This is a very troublesome situation to be in as a healer because you don't know if your people that are stuck out are going to make it back. And I don't have rescue to bring them back, and I don't have a rewind or something to help them if they're running across. And I probably could have popped Zephyr for them to help them, and that would have been my smartest play. But we're taking a lot of damage in the front side here, and I want to make sure we stay up. So setting up this temporal and keeping the 3 of us alive will probably confirm that the boss will go down at this difficulty. But everyone comes back, so I'm able to heal them. That's great news. Sometimes you gotta watch those people die or worry about the people who will definitely live if you heal them before you heal the people that might live, because the might live isn't likely going to save the pull more than the definitely will, more times than not. But those are hard healer decisions. Realistically, we were sort of in a disaster because we all went the wrong way. That's a lack of knowledge, right? That was like just a genuine mistake. How much can we really do to mitigate that? Yeah, right, probably not too much, but that's why that priority is important, is to keep the people that I know are going to live alive, because, well, we want the thing down. I noticed that Roaring Blaze doesn't get kicked, so I get the next one. I have a visual bug with my plater. My buddy and I I steal his setup all the time. He's an amazing player and I love his plater. But that being said, currently I don't know which one of those is kickable or not, so I've learned that Roaring Blaze is kickable. By the way, if you're watching this video and you're like new to WoW and you keep hearing me say kickable, this is, I just adopted this language so fast, but a kick is an interrupt. It's actually the rogue interrupt. But when we say, oh, hey, can you kick that? That means use an interrupt skill. And interrupts are fun because they put a move specifically on cooldown. They silence that school of magic for a few seconds, which forces like the enemy to go to the next move in their rotation. And that's really useful. Now, crowd control on some mobs works, and that can cancel some channels, but not always. And sometimes a channel, when it's CC'd, will immediately be recasted. It depends on the logic of the AI, like how that mob was coded. But so if you keep hearing me say kick or anything like that, that's why. I didn't kick a whole lot in this dungeon because it really was small pulls till it wasn't small pulls, and then I was focused on healing. As a healer, get a kick. Always bring a kick, because in my opinion, having the tool is too useful. It's still the DPS and the tank's job to do most of it. They have the better kicks. They have nicer cooldowns on their kicks unless they're a boomy. Everything about their interrupts is better than yours generally. On Mistweaver Monk, I get a 15-second one, which is awesome, but sometimes you can't be wasting the time kicking something when you're in the middle of juggling 15 heals. And while you will get to a skill level where you can do that, I'm not trying to ask healers to kick at that level, when even in 20s and whatnot last season, healers weren't kicking as often as DPS, again, because things go wrong and things go bad, and we're the ones that need to keep people alive. So try not to worry about it, but have it in your kit and get used to it so that you can stop certain moves. There's a move coming up here actually that's really important that we stop, and we'll get to that right now actually, because this is just a normal pack. So these channelers will end up using, it's going to happen real soon, Flash Fire. That'll steal health from a target. And I end up overlapping with that player, unfortunately. So my kick's on cooldown. But it heals the channeler, and it does an extreme amount of damage to the target they Flash Fire. And you'll see here, it hurts. Like that warrior, that DPS warrior got chunked for almost half their life bar. So that's a move you definitely want to stop in Mythic Plus. I have a feeling that's going to wipe some parties if they're not ready for it. And this one kind of goes a little disastrous. I throw a time dilation on the tank to help keep them alive, a dream breath to get us coated in heals so I can get things going. I'm trying not to pop my bigger cooldowns. I do have a self heal and defensives ready. Hi, Bowser the Editor here again. Just to let you all know, you can line of sight this pulse that's going off, this, I think it's called Storm Surge. Simply have your tank bring it to one of the pillars on the bridge, or at the end of the bridge, and you can just walk around the corner and you won't take any damage from it. I meant to mention this and I completely forgot, so there you go. I go to try to line up a Dream Breath here. Is it here? I mess up a Dream Breath at one point, where like I can't line it up. It's here. I'm trying really hard to figure out where the minimum distance was. Oh, goodness me. It's the same as Deep Breath, but I'm not thinking about it that way. But those heals help get us through another temporal anomaly. I get a little low, so I have to pop the Echo on myself. I Verdant Embrace myself, essentially to full health. I don't like using Verdant for myself unless I have to, but that was a perfect reason to do it. And there we go, pack down. Bit scary, 16,000 heals a second is nothing too insane, but it sort of became 16,000 a second because mild disaster struck. I really didn't need to flame breath this pack. This actually hurts me a little bit, I think, going into the next pack, because I don't have flame breath for this giant cluster, but I do have deep breath. So I'm able to just line that one up. I kick that person. I need to kick this dude so that they get in. And it's flame breath time. Get that massive damage in. Pump the Dream Breath up quite a bit so that it heals, because I know we're taking damage. There's the Flame Breath. That's going to get us some more healing. And then it's Temporal Anomaly in case I need it. And now I just get to spam some buttons. I use a Disintegrate. And I'm just single targeting here. Normally, I would say maybe you should cleave here. But this is the priority target. This is the target that needs to die. And while our AoE is excellent, our single target's pretty good. And so if there's a priority target that must die, and you don't have like a feral druid or a sub rogue in your group that's just gonna like murder the hell out of the highest health target and get it as even as they can, then, you know, it's not bad for you to do that job. That's an incredibly high level thing. You're not gonna see that at lower level dungeons. You're gonna see that at higher level dungeons where like somebody is murdering a single mob so that it evens out, so that the AoE and the cleave damage players can more evenly get the mobs down, and it saves a lot of time doing that. But again, not something you generally see at a lower level play, because, well, it's fun to press buttons. Listen, again, this is also an outlaw rogue, I believe, so I saw the dice multiple times. So this boss, my one tip for Evoker is try to get your Flame Breath on both targets, because that's just a lot of good damage, free damage, and healing. Makes your life a lot easier. But then I'm just single targeting. Cleave is more damage, but I want to fish for some procs here. I alternate between the two just because, you know, we're sitting pretty right now. But then disaster starts striking, flame breaths going off. And I kind of wish that I stuck to fishing for heals, because this does get a tad spicy with this group. Again, we're not really destroying the bosses here. I'm not sure, again, where the gear score with all these players are, and it seemed like we were pretty new to the dungeon, so I no means do I mean to flame. They're just, it does seem like they're new. But this gets bad, so I get an Echo on one. I try to heal them with an Emerald Blossom. I tip the scales. Spirit Blossom to get the health bars up. I still have some emergency cooldowns, and I want to use them. And I think, I want to say I pop my defensives here. Yes, I do. So I pop the self-heal, try to get to this, back to this rogue who's just getting murdered. I then decide I'm going to Dream Breath across planet Earth, or Dream Flight. Tank takes a lot of damage from that Thunderclap. I'm so worried about them. I have to move across the fire, which I'm not a fan of. Verdant's up, though. So I jump to them to heal. They say GG, but the mob's still alive. I had an Emerald Commune, but I wasn't sure where I could pop that. And the answer is you can actually cast Hover and then Emerald Communion, which is really funny because that means it means you fall asleep in the air and then you start dreaming while flying. But ultimately, it lets you move while casting Emerald Commune without having to talent into the thing that lets you move while casting it. That's great. That would have helped a lot here, but I was panicking and not thinking very straight as the end of this pull kind of went to garbage. But I get the Spirit Blooms off, and it's not too much more until the boss goes down. This was a really fun run because I thought it was going to be nice and easy. I would have to record another run because there weren't enough challenges, but it turned out there were plenty of challenges, and I was actually really happy with this. I think it shows off a decent amount of my mindset, but I don't want to sound like this is perfect play. I wasn't kicking enough stuff. If I can find the kicks, I should be using them. Would have saved some incoming damage. I'm sure I could have used it in a few places. I didn't give everyone the raid buff after we wiped, or probably at the start of the dungeon, because I forget I have one. I also forget I have a lust, so I don't use that on the first boss fight. Wahoo. Those are other mistakes that I need to clean up, because I need to remember I have the lust. Normally when I'm playing with a group, I'm in comms and they'll be like lust, and then I'm like, oh, that's me, and I hit the button. So still learning that one. I had 2 emergency cooldowns I didn't use. Great, but that probably would have made my life a little easier at one point. But you get into that juggle of, oh, did I not use them enough? Or, oh no, I used them and now I don't have them. And that can be a tricky scenario to navigate. So maybe could have used them a little better there, but ultimately we took the boss down. It was a bit messy. We were kind of all over the place. New group, at least to the mythic fight, and they were very fun to play with. So I hope you learned a lot from this. I love Evoker. This week I'm going to be focused on gearing my Mistweaver and finishing my M0 World Tour on Evoker. That's going to do it for me, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Again, hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, because I'm only going to be making more. The feedback on the last video was insane, and so I remind myself, hey, if you do like it, please subscribe. I want to push this as far as I can, so I hope you'll join me in that journey, and I will see you all soon.